take this. I can't take. I can't take this. I can't take. I can't take this. I can't take this. I can't take. I can't take this. I can't take. I can't take this.
the penultimate round of it's not, it's round 5 of the Simrigs Sprint Series. Oh my goodness. Hello everybody, my name is AKMO and I want to welcome you to the Not Scuffed broadcast here. We are in the Netherlands for round 5 of the Simrigs Sprint Series, and joining me in the booth, as always, is going to be Mr. Charles Phillips. Charles, good to see you again. Unfortunately, Simon will not be joining us here tonight, as I have completely forgotten to open my mic. Charles, hello, sorry.
Hello.
Oh goodness, we are on the ball here today, let me tell you.
Oh yeah. Tell me.
Well, I already messed up. I thought it was the penultimate round. It's not. It's the 5th round of 7, so we're like rolling in it right now, but we're making it one little bit at a time. Goodness. But how are you doing, Charles? It's been a hot second.
It's been quite well, to say at least, but yeah, looking forward to this race. Obviously a nice karting track and, well, exciting.
Yeah, karting track, something I think we all sort of share as a sentiment. Of course, the F1 boys race around here, and despite as wide as those cars are, they somehow make it around, but some of these corners are extremely tight, especially the ones we're going through right here. But we have had, obviously, some updates to hand out since the last time we were here. We were at Mount Panorama Bathurst. What a race that was.
Oh yeah, it was an amazing race with a lot of plot twists.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could have written a better storyline. So we got to take a look, obviously, at the standings. Of course, it was Santo who got the top step of the podium there after the mistake from Moreno, and then Rolano joined his fellow Spaniard up there. And then Ippolito, on the very last lap, following another spin from Moreno at the S's towards Forest Elbow, was able to pick up that final step on the podium, and it was a Ferrari 1-2-3. So those drivers are keeping each other company. As you can tell, they're 3rd, 4th, and 5th for Santo, Ippolito, and Rolano, so they've got Moreno in front, so looking to do it again. Of course, it is going to be a little bit different here, different track, different things that need to be taken care of. For Pro-Ams, however, it's Sutter in the lead ahead of Oyemets and Cairns. That was that class's results. And then the amateurs showed up and showed out. It was Krebs, I think in his 1st or 2nd race this season, already putting his name on the map, followed by Dorn and Williams. All 3 of those guys are here today, so they are going to be seeing if they can have a repeat of last week or possibly improve their results. And then looking at the standings. So going into it, Moreno did have a clear lead. However, following his unfortunate set of events at Mount Panorama, Santo has taken over the lead, not only in Pro, but overall. 691 points to the Spaniard. For the Frenchman, it's 660, so that's a 31-point gap, still very possible to close up. But results here are going to be detrimental if we keep this season alive. And then down in 3rd is Ippolito with 425, so over a 200-point gap to 2nd place. So I think it's fair to say that the 3rd position, at the very least, is set in stone. And then for Pro-Am, it's Power with 400 points. That's 60 ahead of Abelstead. And then 25 points, rather, separates Abelstead and Cairns. So 2nd place still hangs in the balance. And then for the amateurs, Son and Taylor are tied 167 points apiece, but they can't sleep just yet because Shop, in a home race, if he does show up, I don't think he's in the server, but 135 points for the Dutchman, so 32 points back. The gap definitely still able to be bridged. And then looking just at the overall points for last week's race between Santo and Moreno, Santo walked away with 154 points. Meanwhile, Moreno picked up 108, so that's why the gap is only 31 and it's not larger. But we are getting to the end of practice here. It's Lingard who has the fastest lap, though. A 1:35.15 could possibly see a 1:34.
I mean, it's possible, but what I wanted to say earlier was just because, yeah, this track is very much going karting with GT3 cars, so I think the most important thing here is going to be the upcoming qualifying session, 15 minutes for these 18 drivers to set their best possible time, and I'm I would not be surprised if there are some incidents which are going to in the race that are going to affect places, but most of them are going to stay like they are in qualifying, I think.
Probably. I think there's maybe a couple of drivers, Krebs and Abelstead, I could possibly see shuffling around. Same with Cuthbert. There's only about 200s between them, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone comes out on top over there. We do move ahead into qualifying, and very quickly, of course, we got to give a shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring yet another season of the Sprint Series out of Melbourne, Australia. They've got pretty much everything you need if you're looking to upgrade your sim racing gear. All of Australia, New Zealand, you guys are covered, no doubt about that. But if you're like Charles and myself and you're outside of those borders, well, if you send them an email, I'm sure they'd be more than thrilled to do some business with you. And of course, you all in the crowd who are Patreon members of this great organization, you guys are getting 5% off your in-store purchases, so I would highly suggest taking advantage of that. Things are not cheap by any means, but it is Daniel Hearn first out on circuit. Only 16 drivers, obviously not counting the safety car, but it is the warm-up lap. Charles, thoughts on Zandvoort, because it seems a little divisive.
Uh, I mean, my personal opinion is it's not the greatest track in the world, but it's not so bad either because while I do not personally like it, I am annoyingly decent at it. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's always tough. You can't stand a track, but then you go on it and you're placing pretty high up, so it's one of those, you know, is it bittersweet or is it more of a silver lining?
I, hard to say. It depends who I'm racing with.
Yeah, that is fair. Would like to also mention we've got some new drivers here in the European Sprint Series. Obviously, Abel dos Ramos just joined very recently. I believe it was in the last race. So we'll be seeing what he's got in store. I believe that's Zimbabwe? I could be wrong. I feel like I'm wrong.
I am going to check that information
Yes,
because
please
I
do.
do not know.
Flashing the headlights, he knows. He's saying hello. Or maybe he's talking to the guy in front. Another driver we have, Bram Agudelo, also from Spain. So Spain's starting to sort of turn up a little bit here at the Sprint Series. The 469 Lamborghini for him, for Tire Sim Racing Esports. And then, of course, not Abel said, Joshua Koo from Malaysia. I personally am a huge fan of the Malaysian circuit that F1 used to race at. Hope we go back. But yeah, I feel this might be either joining us from AP or no. It looks like the connection way down, so this must be Koo in Europe at the moment. But again, another new driver here, so we'll see what he's got. But we rejoined Daniel Hearn at the worst possible time. He was on a flying lap, has spun it. So he is going to be trying that one again. Looks like, if we take a look at the track map, we'll see who is on the first lap. It looks like the 27 of Krebs. So we'll see what he can do as he gets his first flying lap in.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Obviously unfortunate for Hearn and for Dos Ramos, it says on the sign-up that he is from Venezuela, but what is being shown in the game is not the Venezuelan flag. I'm still unsure what that is.
I'm fairly certain it is Zimbabwe. I don't know off the top of my head. It probably isn't. Or no, Zimbabwe has the blackbird in the middle, so it's something. We'll figure it out, or someone in chat will figure it out because, you know, we're commentators.
It might be the Zimbabwean flag. I'm not sure.
Possibly, but it is Lingard on pole right now, 135.41, so standard stuff. Moreno there, P2 for him. Abelstead, Hendrickson, Krebs, and Cuthbert all have put in a flying lap, and just as I talk, it is a lap put in for Koo, up in, or now down in 9th position, and then Rolano is 3rd. Cairns is 6th. We'll see who else is on a good lap. Danny Santo, of course, we saw what he did last week, and we'll see if he can do it again here at Zandvoort. I just realized it is the final round. Oh my god, it's round 6. Why did I think 5? I think the graphic is wrong. I think one of the graphics was wrong.
It's the penultimate round. Yeah, the last round should be Nürburgring, I think.
Yeah, it is. It should be. So yeah, it is the final round. I was right in the first time. So I thought we had 6 or 7. I was wrong. It is the final round of the season. But anyways, it is going to be a 60-minute no stopper. I believe there was a change made during the during discussions internally within the drivers and whatnot. So originally this was supposed to be a 60-minute 1 stop, but we've decided against that. So 60-minute 0 stop, and then ideally next week will be a 70-minute 2 stopper. But that's the playing field right now, and currently the playing field is Moreno just sneaking onto pole. I was about to say it was Lingard currently, but the Frenchman has come in and decided to prove me wrong. So he's got about a 10th and a half to the Briton, but that does give him a little bit of breathing room to Santo and Rolano.
Indeed, it does, and well, I just have to say that it's very close with the top 5, even the top 10, only 1.5 seconds and something like that.
Heck, I would say I'd say it's close from 6th down to about 12th. I mean, it's almost it's a little over half a second actually. So that entire midfield is sort of where the action is right now. You could argue 1 and 2 are pretty close, and then it immediately jumps from a 10th and a half to over 6/10 or just about 6/10 of a second. So 1 or 3 to 5 we can keep an eye on, very close between them. But then 6, like I said, 6 through 12, that's where the real money is.
Yeah, it is indeed. And Daniel Hearn is on his first lap and goes up to P3 the second row. Nice.
Yeah, I'm sure Moreno's happy about that one. Knows that the more cars that are between him and the Ferrari trio, although Ippolito is quite a ways down, but at the very least, looking at Santo and Rolano, that's good news for him. And then, of course, the debutant here in the Sprint Series, Agudelo, has joined his fellow Spaniards in the top 6, Santo, Agudelo, and Rolano. Hendrickson is just going P7 now, so the Dane still has some time to work with. 8 minutes to go. It's the suite of Abelstead, who is 8th position, Cuthbert behind in 9th, and Ippolito just went down to 10th position. So for the 140, that is not what you want, especially after your impressive results last week out.
Yeah, indeed, indeed, it's not what he wants. In practice, I saw him going way quicker, so maybe he just had bad few laps, maybe stuck in traffic or something. But you know, still 7.5 minutes to go in qualifying, so plenty of time.
Absolutely. Christian Dorn really struggling with that final corner, running it a bit wide. Hopefully we'll be able to set a lap right now, because he has yet to do so in the last few. And he does, just goes right around Williams, almost half a second. So 17 cars qualifying right now. Of course, the safety car, if it qualified, it would even be a fair race. But it is Moreno still on pole. Has improved, though. The 135.117 coming out here. The 134 may be possible. I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on the Delta, at least in the next lap. Right now, it looks like he took a bit of a siesta, so we'll check in with him. Cairns, though, is improving just a couple of tenths. Same with the number 44 of Lingard. Both of these guys are very, very close to each other. I think that's Lingard in the background, actually. Yeah, it is the Lamborghini. So we'll keep an eye. We'll see where they both come out. Cairns, of course, 9th, Lingard in 3rd.
Yes, that is correct, and I just checked that the best possible time that these drivers can possibly get in this qualifying session is at 33.9. So that is quite a ways off for Moreno.
Yeah, that is a long ways off. I don't know where you're getting that number from. I assume it's AP?
It is another league.
Ah, well, there you go. It looks like that, and what is also just developed is the gap up at the top. Less than 500ths between Lingard and Moreno. Lingard was just about to do another flying lap and got a little bit loose. So that is destroyed. We also saw Cairns move up. Santo goes 4th overall with a 135.35. So he's got 5.5 minutes to set another lap, but it looks like right now These gaps are closing up quite a lot. It's first through fourth is separated by about a quarter of a second, and then fifth to 11th is just a little bit over half a second. So it looks like we may have two main battle packs forming here.
We just might, but until the race starts, we do not know who is gonna be battling with whom because, as I said, it's a tight track and everybody's gonna try. The best opportunity is really to try to overtake on the first few laps when the field is very close together, and well, it most usually does not end well.
Yeah, I think it's also really important as we talk about the tightness of this track. Let's talk about turn one as Fabian Krebs actually goes there right now. So this is a corner notorious. I would probably put it close to the notoriety of Monza T1, but that first turn very tight. A lot of instances of very late braking or even just slightly later braking leading to catastrophic results. Do you think that's something we're going to have to be looking at for a while on this track, or do you think it might just be the start?
I think turns 1 to 10 should all be chaotic because everything is very tight, very cambered, a lot of curbs, a lot of sends are gonna be happening there, and well, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I think also sort of that tight section after turn one, the left, right, and then the long left before you start heading downhill. I can't even begin to tell you how many times you just get I've gone a little bit too much on the inside, and you hit, I'd call it the curb, but it's more like a cliff. I mean, and your car just goes into orbit. So that's going to be very scary when we're going side by side.
I would actually disagree because that just isn't a dangerous section between turns 1 and 4. The most dangerous are the corners themselves because uh, drivers usually have to put in a lot of trust into the other person, and well, if you're driving with, say, a good yellow or Dos Ramos, who you do not know, you've never raced them before, it's going to be a challenge because you don't know what to expect from the other person, and you just have to hope they do not smash into you.
Yeah, that's a big thing when you have these late arrivals to the Sprint Series. The majority of this grid, of course, they've been racing with each other since week one, so they figured it out. Maybe they've been racing with some of these drivers prior to the start of the season, maybe seasons past, or not just here in the OLR, but maybe in other leagues as well, or maybe just out in the world of pubs. But yeah, it'll be. I think I'm always very careful, especially through the first few corners, just because I don't know. There's just something in my head that's like I can trust the other person completely and know exactly what they're gonna do. However, I don't want to chance it.
Yeah, exactly. Because, well, you are racing, you are taking risks, and you're going side by side with somebody you do not know. Is that really a risk you want to take through a corner, which is, well, quite interesting to say at least? I do not think I would take that risk personally.
No, I'm right there with you. I wouldn't at all. And if you're far enough up and you do mess up, there's almost nowhere to go. The second you get even half of that track blocked at race speed, there's zero chance that anybody's gonna make it through unscathed. And that's sort of the scariest part about this entire track is how quickly things can devolve off of one simple error. Of course, as we head down the hill here and we get towards I believe the start of Sector 2, there's a wide open area, so there's a bit of safety there, but for the most part, this track is very, very just... It does not like mistakes.
Definitely does not. Well, last week we had a track that doesn't like mistakes. This one is probably right there up with it, maybe just behind it by a little bit, but, Jason lingered here with 1 minute to go, trying to take away pole position just 2/100ths of a second behind. And he's just gonna get another lap in, so take us through that.
He does go on to pole, but Lingard down to turn number 1. It's a very late break zone. You feel like with how tight this first corner is, you want to break a little bit sooner, but for Lingard, that's not going to happen. Back on the power. Again, there's that curve right there on the right or on the left and the right. Those two massive cliffs, and then into a bit of a cambered left-hand turn. I believe the line here is inside, but some can sort of go outside and then cut back in. I guess it depends on sort of your running. And now we head down this very nice flowing left-right. Left, full throttle, of course. You crest the hill, come down a gear, just hug that inside line. Got to make sure you get it right as you go under the banner. There's a little patch of dead grass, that's what I use, and just a slight break and a downshift. Clip the apex, you come back through another apex. This is a very tricky section to get just right, especially this turn here. I can't tell you how many laps I've had destroyed simply because I don't know how to drive it. Power, and then as much road as you can. And then we get into a very tight chicane that is almost impossible to go too wide just because of the elevation change. And there is Lingard off the track. He was on an improvement, but you know who is on an improvement? This man right here, Pierre Moreno, 0.22 of a second off of pole position. He has found a little bit of extra time here out of the final sector, gunning it towards the start-finish line. Can the Frenchman go on pole? Yes, he can. 0.08 of a second is enough to overtake Lingard, who is in the pit lane. And the only other drivers that are out that are currently close to improving, Ryan Walker, haven't talked about him too much, down in position 14 and will stay there. And all eyes on Christian Dorn right now, who is starting at the back of the grid. He's got 0.6 of a second to Terry Williams, but he wants to close that up as much as he can. The amateur driver from Germany out of the final corner, meets up with the apex beautifully, has found the 0.6. How much more can he go? Can he go a little bit further ahead of Terry Williams or even further? And it is just over 0.1 of a second. Christian Dorn will not have to start at the back of the field, and that is perfect because that sets our grid for the 60-minute sprint that's coming up here. Pierre Moreno, take a bow.
Yeah, Pierre Moreno, there he goes in the 34.8. Quite an amazing time, but I think there's still a lot of improvement to do there.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, people can run 33s. You saw it in other leagues, like you said. So, yeah, I think it's possible to gain a little bit of time. But I think we all know what's about to happen. It's time for the grid walk here as we get ready for a night of action in Zandvoort. And I don't know about you, but I think even with 17 cars, I think we're going to have a lot of chaos. Hopefully controlled chaos, but chaos nonetheless. But ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at your starting grid here tonight. 60 minutes set on the clock, no mandatory stops, so some drivers might just go to the end on one set and one fuel load. But Pierre Moreno just pips out pole position from Jason Lingard, but Daniel Hearn does have his fellow countrymen to keep him defended from the Spanish pairing of Santo and Agudelo. That is 4th and 5th for those guys. Ippolito on the podium from last week starts 6th position. It's Abelstead on 7th, and then you have Rolano, Ramos, and Cairns that round out your top 10. It's Mads Hedrickson from Denmark who starts us off in 11th position. Ryan Cuthbert, a surprising P12 for him. He's going to try to recover himself nicely and get back out there. And then it's Krebs, Walker, Koo, the debutant from Malaysia, and then Christian Dorn, who we just saw overtake Terry Williams for position 16. The Briton starts 17th. And of course, the Simrigs safety car, and I would say the best car, that being the Bentley. But we have our grid set here tonight. The last bits of setup changes coming out here, and we should be going racing soon enough. Charles, do we go for predictions even, or do we just let this race happen?
I'd say just let it happen. Nobody can predict what's about to happen here in lap 1.
No, definitely not. That first turn, I feel like if you can get through that with relative ease, then you should be good to go through the following corners, and you can sort of stretch your legs from there. Of course, that's what Pierre Moreno is looking to do here. But he's got to be careful. Jason Lingard, it was only 0.08 between them, so the pace is there. but will it be a continuous 800ths added on every single lap, or will the Briton find a way around? The Wiz Motorsport team, of course, doing very, very well here in the Simrigs Sprint Series, but I can hear the cars roaring to life. We should be seeing the safety car pulling on through. There it is, and that'll lead us out on the first parade lap. Of course, these drivers will spend that time getting acquainted with their cars and getting some heat into those tires. And while we give these drivers a minute to get themselves sorted out, we do want to give a quick shout out before this race starts to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series out of Melbourne, Australia. A lot of upgrades if you're looking to maybe get a little bit of extra pace out of yourself over your next few races. Australia, New Zealand, the Kangaroos and Kiwis, of course, going to be covered like they always are. And for us, say in the Americas or in Europe or Asia or Africa, if you send them an email, they'd be more than happy to send some goodies your way, of course with proper payment enabled. And our Patreon members, you guys are getting 5% off your in-store purchases, so do take advantage of that. Things are not cheap, but we are on track here. This is, I would say, going to be the calmest lap of the race.
One could say that it's the calmest. The other could say it's the most nerve-wracking lap of the race for the drivers, but depends the way you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we said sort of the same thing with about Panorama, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
Well, I think I could be wrong, but I feel like it might have been NA, but no, I think it was EU. I think somebody said something to the effect of this is the calmest lap, and the counter argument was no, it's not. This is gonna be the most chaotic lap until we actually get racing. So maybe that is true, but well, these drivers don't have much time to really think about it because the safety car should be peeling away here. That it is, and we are side by side. Well, you came for action, and you're gonna get it here in the Netherlands, a circuit that I think everybody is well acquainted with. Of course, these drivers got to close up these gaps. Charles, any final words before we get going?
Not really. I just hope we have a relatively clean first lap, as clean as possible, at least on this track.
Well, that'll be a sight that we have to wait and see. Pierre Moreno just sneaks pole away from Jason Lingard. Moreno sort of in a must-win situation, 31 points down on your championship leader, Santo. So he is trying to make up for last week's scares. But it is also Hearn in the top three. Santo is fourth. It's green, green, green here in the Netherlands. And already it's an amazing start from the front two on the grid. Pierre Moreno a little bit later on the brakes. There's a bit of a dive there from one of the Tire Racing Ferraris there, but it is going to be an immediate getaway there for the Frenchman, exactly what he was looking for. You see Daniel Hearn in the McLaren trying to go down the inside of Lingard. It's not going to work out too well, and he's actually going to outbrake himself as the 33 comes through. That is Santo, who does push the Lamborghini off the track. I wonder what the stewards are going to think about that, but down the hill we go. We are going to ride on board here with Jason Lingard as he sits behind the McLaren there, the 132 of, I forget who that is, I just lost it, but anyways, down the hill we go. Daniel Hearn, yep, thank you. And now into the section, he's very late on the brakes, almost goes into the back there, but does gather it up quite nicely. I think he's already starting to come under attack. The Tire Motorsports team really showing up. Look at how many of them are in the same area as each other. The Ferrari there of, that's Rolano getting two in one corner, but it looks like Lingard is, Hearn is not going to give that one up just yet as we head into the chicane, but the inside line does belong to Hearn, and he should have this.
He should have this is what we should say, but there is some contact there, and Rolano almost spins out, which allows Lingard to get through to before the final corner, if I'm not mistaken, but Lingard gets stopped by Rolano and somehow just saves it and stays behind.
What a save from Lingard. That was incredible. He just got about, what, maybe 35, 40 degrees sideways and gathered it up beautifully. We're going to jump back a little bit. It's Ippolito with Abelstead, and it also looks like Agudelo. And there's a huge dive down the inside from the Swede, and that is immediately going to put him off circuit, and he is bleeding positions down out of the top 10. It looks like, so he went from 8th position down to 11th. There's contact there. Krebs onto Hendrickson, and there's Walker as well, easing around the outside there, but isn't going to be out of the woods just yet. We're going to ride on board here with Cuthbert. He's going to give us a nice little side-by-side as he goes onto the grass there, goes into the side of the Lamborghini, spins around, collects another Ferrari, and everybody's dashing away. There's the Porsche there of, I believe, Kuhn, or Kuh rather, sorry, I'm thinking of somebody else, who does get through. Terry Williams, or it was Christian Dorn, who did make complete contact, and that is how quickly things can go sideways, quite literally, as, well, we've got Cuthbert to the back of the grid. What a disastrous start for him.
That was most unfortunate timing for us to switch to him, but a very unfortunate incident there. The stewards are gonna definitely be looking at that, but right now Ryan Walker has Abelstead behind him, who also did not have the best start of the race. Will be looking to get somewhere, at least in the top 10, I think.
Absolutely. Obviously, Abelstead was running 8th, late on the brakes, tried to go 2 for 1 and got a little bit too greedy, and that sent him into the gravel. Thankfully, was able to rejoin the track safely. Down in 12th, got to catch up to Ryan Walker. That lap is not as quick as he would like, but qualifying, he might be able to gain some pace back right now. We rejoin Simone Ippolito, who does have the fellow Ferrari there, or sorry, not the Ferrari, that's the Lamborghini of, I believe, the 453. Yep, that is, or not the 453, the 44. The 469. I can't read today. Agudelo.
The 44. It is indeed a 44 of Lingard and the 469 of Agudelo.
Oh goodness, I can't even say it's been a long day. It's only 2 in the afternoon, almost 3 in the afternoon. I can't even talk. Cuthbert's in the pit lane. Looks like for damage, so that is gonna just put him way down at the back. That might be his race over and out. Agudelo. Ooh, I think he missed the break point. Does miss the apex a little bit. Loses time to Ippolito and Hendrickson. But a slight misstep is not a bother for him at all as he continues to go on. Ryan Walker, there's the spinning Abelstead. Tried to go down the inside, and it didn't work out. We'll get a little replay of that and see what happened.
So Abelstead just on the back there, tries to go down, but locked the rear and, yeah, just spun out.
I don't know if it's just me, but it looked like he went over some sort of bump and the back end of the car just hopped up, and that's what caused the rears to lock. No?
No, he just braked too much while turning, you know. It's very easy to do that in these cars.
Interesting. I thought, okay, for a moment it looked like it, but maybe it was just sort of the natural ups and downs of the track, not an actual bump. But anyways, that is not what the 34 wants. Does stay in position 12, so that's good for him. A pretty healthy gap, it looks like, to Ramos. But right now, it's Ippolito, who only has a couple of tenths, actually, out of the corner. Does pick up a few more, so Agudelo, despite his best efforts right now, has not been able to close the gap up. And right behind, you do see the 2 McLarens of Hendrickson and Cairns, with Krebs actually there, just slightly out of frame. But things have really gone off and then simmered back down. Moreno, a huge gap right now, 1.8 to Santo. How much more does this grow?
I cannot tell you, Nick. We're gonna have to wait and see. And, well, how much is the gap to Lingard gonna close? And is Ippolito gonna be going for a move soon?
Well, I don't know. Lingard's last lap was a 36.7. Ippolito's was a 37.4, but I wonder if maybe that was because of just getting around somebody, having a battle here and there, losing a couple of tenths. We'll see what it is on this lap, though. If it is faster, Ippolito could be going for a move soon enough. Agudelo, I don't think he's pushing. I think right now he's just sort of sitting in neutral, doesn't want to attack, doesn't really need to defend as he runs it out wide. Okay, I might have lied. He might be going a little bit aggressive there, trying to close up. But a 37-2 for Lingard and a 36-6 for Ippolito. This move could definitely be on, but passing at Zandvoort, not the simplest task.
Definitely not the simplest task, but I would be lying if I said that there aren't many opportunities to pass on this track because, well, if you try hard enough, you're gonna get it, and, well, just depends on how committed you are.
Yeah, also the corner tends to have a bit of a say in whether or not you do get the overtake. Yeah, you can do it into any corner. It's just, I think it's just a question of should you try it? You know, if it's something like right here with Ippolito and Agudelo, probably. It's a nice wide area. Would I say going through turns 2 and 3? You know, would that be a good idea? Maybe if you're crazy enough. Like, you know, I'm not on track.
Yeah, I mean,
And I mean, what about the chicane up here? I don't know about the chicane.
oh, chicane? Maybe on the entry, but definitely not through it.
Yeah, no, we did
But
see side by side.
going quick, what I wanted to say earlier was going quickly with a racing car is just a question of how crazy you are, how crazy you want to push that car. So, you know, anything can be done. It just, are you committed enough to do it?
Well, I think at a certain point, you sort of the fear and self-preservation part of your brain shuts off, and I mean, you know, if it's early on in the race, it's probably sitting in the on position. But I think as we get later and later into the race, I believe it might change up a little bit. Cairns tried to go for a move on Hendrickson earlier, didn't work out, and it looks like Agudelo as well tried something on Ippolito but couldn't. Both of these guys fighting though has given Lingard a chance to pull away. So for the Briton, that's exactly what he's looking for. Just little bits of time here and there. That's going to pull him away. Fabian Krebs has had the same sort of setup as Moreno in terms of the two other cars, but instead of pulling away, he could be pulling in.
Could be, yeah, that is true. Krebs currently running in a very nice P10 for the amateur driver. I would say that's an excellent position, but you know, might be a lot going on here in the race.
Yeah,
I will not miss anybody yet.
No, not yet. Got to be careful. You always forget the powers you have, and then when it comes back to bite you, you're always surprised. Krebs though did win in the amateur category last week at Bathurst, and then it was Dorn and Williams on the podium for that. But those two drivers have swapped currently on the track, but it looks like about a second between Dorn and Williams, so that could go any which way by the end of this race. In the meantime, Hendrickson has absolutely pulled away Krebs. Oh, that was close. I think any more on the gravel there, he would have been off.
Would have definitely been off, but Krebs, you just switched away from him, but Krebs right on the back of Cairns there, which I think might be calling for a move soon enough.
Possibly. Krebs' last lap was a 37.64, and for Cairns it was a 37.69, so a couple of hundredths between them. Could go for the move. Of course, the patience game could be what it is. Just reel him in slowly and then hold him in one spot for a while and then pick your poison and go in, and hopefully you come out the other side unscathed. But this could possibly be Krebs. He's an amateur class, but right now I'd say he's more of a pro-am, especially based off of last week.
Yeah, I mean, the classes do not really say much as. Was that Hendrickson?
Oh, that's Hendrickson off.
Just won.
Let's try and see what happened here. So he goes into the braking zone over the inside. It's all pretty normal. Runs it outside like you should. And then... Oh, I don't...
Stepped on the throttle.
Yeah,
Too early, maybe too hard. Yeah, that McLaren has a lot of torque, and if you're not trying to drift, you're not gonna have fun.
Yeah, the McLaren doesn't strike me as a drift car, but I was about to say exactly that. Just maybe a little bit too eager on the throttle, and that puts him down in position 13. So An hour, or sorry, about 48.5 minutes. He's got some time to work with. Very unfortunate, was doing extremely well for himself. Up until that point, of course, we rejoined Simone Ippolito in 6th position. Has not been able to close into Lingard. Their lap times are kind of going back and forth a little bit, and then same down to Agudelo. So these three, for the time being, are keeping each other company, but not giving each other a chance to really rest. It's going to be one slight mistake and the position is gone, and that's sort of what happens as you get higher up on the grid. Abelstead right now with Dos Ramos, 2 Lamborghini drivers, but one of them certainly wants to be the better of the other.
Yeah, both of them want to be better than the other, but it's just about who is the quicker one, who is the one that can defend more, and who's the one who can commit more to taking the corner in a specific way.
Absolutely, and it is Abelstead using really all of the track, but that has been a bit of a hindrance because Ramos had a tighter line and was able to pull up. But as I say that, it's Ramos with the tighter line, and Abelstead using all of the track available. The last lap was 2/10 in Abelstead's favor. And, oh, this is closed up. Agudelo with a bit of a slipstream on Ippolito. Do we see the dive bomb into turn 1?
Too far back, I would say, but who am I to say what's a crazy move?
Well, he just sort of peeked on the inside just to say, hey, I'm here, and just slowly moved back over. Was obviously, like you said, not close enough for a move. But, well, we did see Abelstead try something pretty similar, but had a shorter line into the corner, so that's why he went off. Although, despite the lack of speed, I guess you could say, on the front straight, 469 has gathered it up quite nicely. That gap sitting about 3 to 4 tenths. It's kind of just flip-flopping back and forth right now. We also have Pierre Moreno losing time to Danny Santo, who has gotten around Hearn and Lingard. What in the world? Or no, sorry, it's not Danny Santo. That's Cuthbert. That's Cuthbert. My bad. I was
Yeah.
supposed to be like, damn, that was fast. And I was like, I didn't know Danny Santo was driving the McLaren. No, he's not. He's in the Ferrari. Daniel Hearn, though, does pick up a 10-second penalty for a collision on lap 1. Santo in the meantime also had some contact lap 1, but only a slap on the wrist. So he's gotten away from that one quite easily. There's Rolano going a bit wide. And Krebs all over the back of the 22 of Cairns. Look at that. He could almost kiss the bumper as we head onto the front straight. That slipstream could play in beautifully to the German's hands. Another case of using as much track as possible. But it looks like Cairns might have gotten a better exit with that line. Krebs looks to the inside. It's Cairns going defensive into turn number 1. But could this be the old switcheroo as Krebs pulls up side by side? As we head to turns number 2, he'll be outside for one of them, inside for the other. I don't know how they're going to get through this in one piece. They both do. The battle carries on. The cambered left-hander does play into the favor of Cairns. However, it's not over yet. Down the hill we go. The slipstream here at this proximity, not what you want. Krebs just has to lift off the throttle. We'll move back to the inside and back behind. But Krebs, he knows it. He knows that position's there. He's just got to time it right.
He does, and well, that was quite an interesting Sector 1 they had there, and Krebs still right on the back of Cairns. Might go for a move soon, but it is definitely a risk he might not want to take right now.
Yeah, I was about to say, the exit of this corner, depending on how it goes, he could... Oh, I think he just feigned to the inside for a second. Tried to sell the deep dive to Cairns, who isn't buying it whatsoever. But sort of a double switchback maneuver right now doesn't work out. So we find ourselves in a similar situation that we were in last lap. Not quite as close this time, but the gap certainly not something to scoff at. As we head onto the front straight, these guys getting ready for their 10th lap of this circuit. It's Krebs further back. That slipstream reels him in, looks to the inside, then back to the outside. Later on the brakes into turn number 1, he's going to try to make it work around the outside. It's Cairns using all of the width that McLaren offers him to hold off the number 27 for another lap. Cairns has to be under so much pressure right now.
Yeah, Cairns just has to keep his cool, and he knows that Krebs cannot pass him unless he allows him to, so just has to keep his cool, place his car well, and he might just keep P8.
Well, if I know Cairns, he is not one to really give up that easily. He's not one to give in to the pressure. So he has got another 42 minutes to get the job done, and that's going to feel like 42 years almost, as Krebs is so racy here. He's got roughly the same lap time as Cairns, but the fastest lap is 4/10 in the Porsche's favor. Everything he's got to try and get around does get a little bit loose, so we'll drop some time. However, still back on the hunt. We check in. Santo leads Rolano by a little bit. Santo, that was very close. Excellent save from him. Full lock one way, back the other, and that does give Rolano a chance to close in. However, he can't convert. The speed isn't there. Looks to the inside. There's a huge dive down into turn number 1. Has Rolano actually hooked it up? He does. And the entire Sim Racing Esports teammates swapping positions. Santo down to P4.
Yes, Santo down to P4, but what I wanted to correct you is I am 99% sure it is pronounced tier, not tire.
Oh, is it tier? Ah, you're probably right. Tier, tire. I'm sure there's someone out there who said it already, but if whatever the pronunciation is, I apologize. Obviously, I never get any of these pronunciations correct on the first go around. But
This is alright. I mean, also might be just that Santo just let Rolano through, maybe, because of his mistake. He didn't want to hold up his teammates, so it might just be a coordinated move, but nonetheless, it looked good.
But if it's a coordinated move, wouldn't they want Santo to stay in third position because he has a 31-point advantage over Pierre Moreno? And if Moreno's ahead of him, obviously he's going to be gaining more points. But right now, I firmly believe that the gap should go back or should close up, and Moreno should take over the lead there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, maybe, but what we are joining in right now is Simone Ippolito fighting with 2 Lamborghinis, one in front and one behind. This is gonna get interesting very quickly.
Yep. An Italian sandwich, obviously always very good to have. I don't know how well Lamborghini and Ferrari taste, but if I know anything, it's going to taste pretty darn good. Unfortunately, Ippolito, the meat of this sandwich, not what he wants to be, has closed up a little bit to Lingard, and Agudelo follows suit. I wonder if maybe, yeah, Lingard's got a 37.5 as his last lap. Ippolito has a 36.9 and a 36.6 for the chasing Lamborghini there. If these three come together at what I would assume to be one of the worst possible times, we could be seeing, I would love to see a 3 wide down the front straight.
That would be quite something, but unlikely. Very unlikely, I'd say.
Yeah.
Just a way too much of a risk to go 3 wide into a corner which doesn't have grip anywhere except on the inside.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those, someone gets a little bit loose, someone else catches up, slipstreaming, and before you know it, things are happening. Ippolito, in the meantime...
Oh, and Agudelo is off.
Agudelo, yeah, he's
and
off.
Ferrari is off.
Let's roll this one back. We'll see what we can find. So we head through the chicane. Oh, I think he just misses the break point entirely. And then up ahead, that's Rolano. Rolano spun out on the exit. I think he just got a little bit too early on the throttle, and just that torque there spun around. He's down to 6th position. That puts Santo into P3.
And Ippolito into P5, which obviously he is He's trying to get back-to-back podiums, but it's gonna be hard, and well, gonna be interesting certainly.
Yep, and here's the thing. Daniel Hearn currently has only, I think, a 5-second gap right now. Yeah, or no, he's got, I think it's 8.8. So here's the thing. Hearn has a 10-second penalty. He has to find 1.2 seconds over the next 38 minutes. If he does, and he can obviously go for a little bit more, he will completely nullify that penalty. And if he does that, then he'll walk away with P2, and Moreno, I think, should be able to take the lead of the championship. Of course, if Santo finishes second, I think it'll be, I want to say 10 points.
I am not sure, but I'll trust you. Bless you.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I didn't want to do that on stream, even though it wasn't my aggressive sneeze. Anyways, as you were saying.
Yeah, as I was saying, might be 10 points. I don't know, but I'll trust you. And well, Lingard here trying to close into Santo and pull away from Ippolito, but just seems to be in like that weird middle ground here.
Well, I mean, I think it's better to be in the middle ground rather than having your opponent catch up to you. 6.5 tenths, just a little bit over that, is what Ippolito has to find his way over. But yeah, for Lingard, I mean, it's better to just sort of sit in, heck, I just call it stasis, cold storage, if you will, Dr. Freeman. But Ippolito looking to combine his speed and pick up 4th position, but out of the turn, he hasn't gotten it too well, so that is where I think Lingard is basically gaining all of his time right there over Ippolito.
And just as you say that, the gap decreases, so I don't know.
Well, it's the joys of racing, just that little back and forth over several laps, even just the same lap in a few corners. You can see drivers go from, what, a 10th difference, and then you go through a couple turns and all of a sudden it's over half a second. So that just shows you how little room for error there is at the top of the grid.
Yes, and Lingard gets a 5-second penalty.
And Rolano.
For... yes.
Let's see. Both of them. Oh, there's a huge dive from Ippolito. That spins the 44 of Lingard. I don't know what he was doing. That was what in the world?
Oh, let us observe. Lingard just way too early on the brakes. I don't know what he was doing, but I would say definitely Ippolito's fault, but he's got a good reason for it.
Yep, and Ippolito is gone. He has decided that's where the race ends, so unfortunate for him. I don't know, maybe
Lingard?
Yeah, Lingard's out. He's retired the car. But Ippolito, it looked like there was a like you said, early on the brakes possibly for Lingard, and Ippolito took the opportunity, but then the door just closed. There was nothing he could have done at that point.
No,
so
that's not how you look for an opportunity.
No, I
that
know.
That was pure evasive action. Just he was trying to not hit him, and Lingard did not see him in the mirrors and just turned in. So yeah, an unfortunate one, but Polito will be picking up a penalty for that.
Absolutely. We'll just have to see what the punishment is once the stewards sort of get that figured out. I don't know. It looked like, just maybe a bit of an ambitious move, and ran out of road. Obviously, the entry to the chicane, we do see drivers go for it. I know it's not really a chicane, but you know what I mean. But the inside, I feel like you can really only go for that line if you're, I would say, halfway alongside at the very least, because there is no room here at all.
I would say you can only go for that line if you're driving something like a BMW or a Bentley, because the Ferrari, it does not take curbs that well, as we just saw.
No.
Ippolito had the line, would have cleared actually Lingard easily, but the curb is what sent him absolutely flying, as Rolano just does the same move on Ippolito that he did on Lingard, and it does not work out.
No, he got on the brakes, and I think he got off of them for a split second and then right back onto, I don't know, maybe he saw the pace was there, thought he could make it work. Hasn't, though, and thankfully, there, despite the little bit of contact, there was no carnage, no chaos. But that does give Agudelo a chance to catch up. Rolano has to be careful, though. He has 5 seconds of penalties already, and he does not want to get any more. So if he's going to go for a move like that, you have to be, I'd say for him, fully alongside at this point.
Yeah, basically fully alongside, but yeah, who are we to tell these drivers when to make moves?
Yeah, it's all up to them, really, when you have enough laps, 16 so far, to really figure out what it is your pace is going to be, what you're looking like compared to your opponent. Yeah, that's when you can start making those guesstimates as to when you can go for a move. I think for a moment Rolano thought about the inside there. That is not the spot you want to overtake, my friend. It is not going to be easy, and there's a very high chance that you do end up making a mistake.
Yeah, a very, very high chance. Even if you do not make a mistake, that curb is going to absolutely murder you as Agudelo just goes off track. That gave me a heart attack and a half, but thankfully stays on the racing circuit.
Yeah, that was a little bit too close for my taste, but you know what, he's got it carried down, or got it, you know, battened down pretty well. So I think he's just giving us a little bit of a show, which I can always respect, a little bit of showmanship. That was absolutely terrifying. We do have Abelstead getting a 10-second penalty for dangerous driving on lap 2. So I don't remember exactly what that was for. It might have been it might have been that little I think it was a little dive bomb. So that probably was what it was, I assume, because then he kind of like threaded the needle, I think, or something had happened. So that's, I assume, what it's for.
Yeah, it might just be that. And what did Rolano get this penalty for?
He got a 5-second for a collision on lap 1. So I don't think we caught that. So that's what he has to deal with. So even if he gets around Ippolito, it really won't matter because he'll go back to 6th. Carriage, you can see, is a long ways off of Agudelo. So at the very least, 6th position would be Rolano's. Not that he would want that, admittedly.
Yes, and we still might have a penalty going Ippolito's way. Just gonna wait on the stewards to decide what they're gonna do, but yeah, it's a very unfortunate incident, that one.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, as much as we'd like these stewards to give, you know, sort of an instant penalty, maybe something that you see sort of in Gran Turismo, where the system will give its best guess as to who gets a penalty, and I'd say for the most part it gets it right. Not that I play, but from what I've seen, it gets it pretty right. But with our stewards, of course, it is live stewarding, and they're looking at all sorts of angles, all the telemetry, and just making sure that the decision they make is spot on. That's why, you know, with Abelstead, he got a 10-second penalty for something that happened 16 laps ago. Obviously, if things are quiet as they are now, then our stewards will get to incidences a little bit faster, but again, they are really taking their time to make sure they get it right.
Yeah, exactly as you said, and a little bit of a fact in OR stewarding. During the 12th hour of batters in OR, the stewards were only looking at the live race after 3 hours. So they did not see the race live since lap 1 to God knows which one. So, you know,
Well,
they are definitely working hard and a lot.
That's a long time. You almost hope nothing happened in in that little stretch, because if you miss something, there's going to be some rather angry messages thrown around. We joined Christian Dorn and Terry Williams here. These two drivers last week out at Bathurst were swapped positions. It was Williams Williams behind Dorn. Right now, it's the Ferrari driver finding himself with a bit of an advantage over his fellow amateur class driver. Last lap for Williams, though, was a 140.005. And for Dorn, it was a 35 or 39.15 as he's a little bit later on the brakes. Those pull in a lot closer. He's using that exit speed and the slipstream on top of that to try and find a way around. Into that final corner, he does get it better. Is on the outside, on that racing line. He's got to cut back in. He's got to be careful, though. Lifts off the throttle, loses some time. And how much time does he actually lose as we head on to the front straight for another lap? They head into turn number 1. The German looks to the inside. It's the Briton that outbrakes. He gets spooked off by it. And Terry Williams into the gravel, into the pits. And that might be the retirement there for the 305, Mr. 305. Unfortunately, finding himself putting that Ferrari back into the trailer. And he is going to have another week to spend before the final race.
Unfortunate, that one. I'm very not sure what happened there, but yeah, you know, if he decides he's had enough, can't really argue that.
Yep, he just went wide, and that was that. Outbraked himself. Ramos has picked up a 10-second for a collision on lap 2, so that'll be 10 seconds as he continues to run onto the grass, really finding all that time. So, yeah, some of these penalties coming in very, very late. That does give Dorn second spot on the podium. Ooh, Ramos a little bit too late there, almost into the back of Ryan Walker. This is the battle for P9. Cairns, though, will gladly take this as that'll pull him away from these two and hopefully end in a Pro-Am victory. Of course, Abelstead a long ways back there in position 12 with 10 seconds, so even more of a buffer between them.
Yeah, well, and also Relano somehow made his way past Ippolito, so that's gonna give him a little bit more breathing room, at least, I think.
Yeah.
Or more of give Santo more of breathing room, because that is what Santo needs while trying to chase down Daniel Hearn.
Well, the thing is, he's got just about 16 seconds between himself and Hearn. That's been growing little by little each lap. He's just taking it. He can't really do anything right now. Of course, Hearn is more than happy to do something like that for a good few laps. So for Santo, I don't know if he'll find a way on the podium. Of course, anything can happen, but a podium finish would be huge for him, as that would give him... Ooh, there's a little bit of oversteer from Ippolito. I think he has to downshift a little bit. Goes to the inside. Uh-oh, Agudelo. He might have a little bit more speed out of the final corner with the slipstream to turn 1, but I don't think he's going to be close enough for a move. No, he's not. Ippolito perhaps feeling a little bit of the pressure now.
Yeah, a little bit of the pressure, but it's not... Oh, and Daniel Santo gets a 10-second penalty. This is going to change things quite a bit there.
Yep, Santo 10 seconds for a collision on lap 9. Rolano has 5 seconds. So right now, I believe Rolano might be able to finish ahead if things stay the way they are. It looks like it. Or no, I think it will be Ippolito that would overtake. So the podium's going to be a little bit confusing if these gaps stay relatively close.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting, but of course, 24 minutes to go. Plenty of time if you ask Pierre Moreno last week, but you know, anything can happen.
Well, you got to keep in mind he also had some damage, and then compounded more damage on top of that, so that made things a little bit difficult. I'm just checking right now. So Pierre Moreno, if he wins, he'll get 150 points, plus the 5 from pole, plus the 3 from fastest lap, so that would be 153. Santo, he's going to get booted down a little bit, because if he finished in 3rd, he would only get 115, plus I believe it was, I think he was, what, 3rd? So it would be 118. So if things stay the way they are, Pierre Moreno will retake the lead in the championship, which will be great news for him, of course, going into the final round. For Santo, however, as if he didn't have enough problems to catch up to Hearn, well, now he's got to try to find, well, 10 seconds to Rolano, which isn't looking very feasible right now.
Certainly isn't, but Well, it's going to definitely be interesting, as I earlier said, and I will say again. Things on this track, the excitement never stops, so, you never know what to expect going into a lap.
Yeah,
You can
really.
see yeah, you can overtake a car, you can see a spun out car in front of you. You never know what you're going to encounter because this track is frankly quite difficult and it is showing.
Yeah, you see just how flat things are. Oh, there's Ramos there getting a little bit of spin going, and that's exactly what you were just talking about. You could see someone spin. I think the thing with Zandvoort that kind of throws it for me is all of these flat sections, and you think, okay, it's flat road. I'll be able to, take this corner very easily. But then I don't know, something just happens mid corner, and that time you're up. Maybe you're up a couple of tenths on your personal best. Well, now you're a couple of tenths back, and for some drivers, that's a hurdle they never really overcome. So even though
Yeah.
these drivers make it look easy, of course, any driver in any league is going to make these things look easy. But when you actually sit down and you start practicing, it is rather difficult to get it together every single time.
Yeah, it isn't easy because, yeah, going fast on a racetrack in a race car, it never is easy on a sim or in real life. And what I wanted to point out there while watching Walker's onboard was he was just changing something into the chicane there. I think some electronic settings there. M- Uh, so it points out the difficulty of this track that you cannot run the same settings on every part of the circuit, which is, well, it's quite difficult to wrap your head around, is it?
No, you're right. I did notice that. I'm wondering maybe if it was traction control change. I think we saw it with I believe it was Santo earlier, or it was Rolano rather spinning out. So this upping that traction
Oh, and
control.
somebody spun out in front. Or
Uh,
am I seeing things?
I think we're just seeing things. I didn't see anybody, but anyways, right here though, it's very easy to spin out. So maybe just that little bit of extra traction for Walker to keep those tires from spinning themselves too quickly. That might be what that change was, and then probably switches it back onto here so he can, not get held up per se. But yeah, that's my guess. But some of these drivers are constantly changing just little things, little ABS here, a little bit of traction control over there. Uh, Obviously a bit easier depending on the more complex wheel you have.
Yeah, yeah, it all depends on the equipment you have, but you can comfortably race on, well, pretty much anything on ACC because that is what I love about sim racing. No matter if you have a keyboard or you have a $10,000 setup, you can ultimately do the same time. And, it's just about that the $10,000 setup gives you a little bit more consistency or immersion. So, it's all about skill in this game. No luck.
Yeah, definitely no luck ever involved in racing ever. Definitely. Oh man, but we just get under 20 minutes to go. It's Pierre Moreno with 4 seconds of a gap to Daniel Hearn. However, 10 seconds does hang over the Briton's head, so even if he gets around, he's got to find that extra time. It's Daniel Santo. A gap that was 10 seconds just about has opened up to 18.4. Oh, in the meantime, Ramos tries to go for something. Ramos, let me just finish my spiel, please. Danny Santo, though, P3 with 10 seconds. There's Rolano in 4th with 5 additional seconds. Ippolito has 15 for that collision we saw, actually, at this point right here some time ago. So he's got to figure that one out. Agudelo is just a couple tenths back, so he'll be looking to grab some extra positions. Just a question of how many is he actually going to grab by the end of this. And then it's Krebs, who has been on a bit of a charge right now. We have Cairns in P8. Ryan Walker is P9, and we just saw Abel Dos Ramos try to go for a move onto the back of Ryan Walker. There's Cuthbert, and who is 15th. He did have a very poor opening to the start of the race, got spun, got some damage, had to go into the pits. Right now he is playing blue flags, and this is not what you want to be. But your top 10 decided: Henderson, Abelstead, Coot, Dorn, Cuthbert, 17 drivers started, 15 currently remain, and Abelstead goes into the pit lane. Very surprising. I'm not certain what that's about, but Ryan Walker is getting held up. He wants to get around this McLaren as soon as possible because Ramos, even with 10 seconds, wants to get the overtake done.
Yeah, he does want to get the overtake done, but what I'm going to correct you at
Oh,
is
it's
that...
Cairns, actually. What am I talking about?
Yeah, yeah, that is what I was going to correct you at, because you said it's a blue flag. It is not a blue flag. It is Iwan Cairns, who is trying to defend his position currently, and we have Abelstead in the pit lane.
I don't know why I thought it was Cairns. I guess You know what it is? I'm used to seeing this man right here, because Cuthbert's from Scotland, and so is Cairns, and I saw the Scottish flag, and I immediately thought, and if memory serves, I believe Cuthbert was in the McLaren at one point, so I just assumed. So apologies on that front. But yeah, not a blue flag. This is the battle for P8, actually. Although Ramos really isn't in it. Even if he gets around, I doubt he's going to find the time in 17.5 minutes.
Yeah, but, you know, things happen. 17.5 minutes, but gonna be hard to make up 10 seconds.
Yep, and we also lost...
Even if, yeah.
We lost Hendrickson in the meantime, having a Thrustmaster moment. Definitely one of the moments of all time. That's unfortunate for him, an unfortunate retirement. But that is how it's going to go down. Hopefully back again next week for the final race of the season. We will see how the top end of the field looks like after the standings have been finalized, and report back to you all at the end, or at the beginning of the next race. And there was something I wanted to talk about, and that was the awards, I believe. But we haven't posted it from the last race, so we're still waiting on Valencia. No, what was last week? Last week was Valencia.
You mean Bathurst?
Bathurst, yeah, we haven't gotten it for Bathurst, so unfortunately we can't get into that. But right now, Ryan Walker on Iwan Cairns for position 8. Tried to go around the outside. It didn't work. Later on the brakes again for the BMW driver. As we head into the left-hander, Ramos just waiting there. I don't know if he's really going to be going for anything at all, but Ryan Walker, the pace is certainly there, but it's just about finding the right time to actually go on the brakes. I think Cairns sent it a little bit too much into the chicane, so that does bring the 97 in closer. Could he have a run through the final set of corners? That's going to be the big question of the McLaren, though. Not as strong as it really was before. I know it used to be top of the field, but it's been sort of dialed in a little bit, because right now what it is also going down is, I just saw it too, is, it's Krebs going around Abelstead, and well, he's having some problems, so we'll just check in with that in a moment. Actually, these guys are going to be catching up to that here in a little bit of time. So how does this all play out? Ippolito still behind Rolano, and still with Agudelo behind, so these guys... It's that Constantina back and forth again. Haven't been able to pull away.
Yes, indeed, but again, I have to correct you, because the McLaren is currently, I believe, the second quickest car in the game, so it's definitely not been dialed in, but everything else has been brought closer to it, so...
Oh, that must be... Okay.
You know, yeah, because the new McLaren, of course, it's a new car, so they have to make it overpowered, so, you know how it goes.
Yeah, I was assuming, just because we don't see a lot of McLarens, especially in pub races. I don't see them all too much. Most people are running the new Ferrari, of course. That seems to be the meta car here at the moment. Of course, will probably not get changed anytime soon. It could be the little changes, but I'd say like any major changes currently, as the developers are focusing on a set of Corsa 2. Ramos there, almost losing it on the inside, and that is just what happens when you get a little bit too ambitious on the corners, especially down there. You are going to, well, at the very least, lose a decent chunk of time.
Yes, yeah. You cannot push too hard, because you're gonna overdrive it, and then it comes to a very weird statement that you have to go slower to go faster. How does that sound to you, Nick?
Oh, that sounds like something I don't want to be dealing with all too much, if I'm being completely honest.
Exactly.
Oh, but this is... Ryan Walker just has pinned this car behind the McLaren. Hasn't really gone for a move. Not that I think he isn't too upset about that. He understands exactly what's being asked of him. But he knows that all he really has to do right now, stay behind, just get in the head of Cairns. See if you can force a mistake.
Yeah, all he can really do is stay behind and hope for a mistake, because that BMW, it's not a narrow car, and it cannot just pass anywhere. So, you have to wait for a very, very proper moment to pass the car ahead.
Yep, I think we have some of the widest cars currently in this little three-pack right now. The McLaren, the Lamborghini, and the BMW. I think the BMW might be the slimmest of the three, if I'm not mistaken, although I could be wrong. But when you have these wide cars, well, things get a little bit dicey, especially on a track as narrow as Zandvoort.
On Zandvoort, things always get dicey, because just because of how narrow it is, people are getting annoyed, and well,
Yep.
somebody who's certainly annoyed right now is Cairns, that is being challenged by Walker, and Walker just cannot find a way past.
Two instances of annoyance, I think, are sort of canceling each other out right now, because you think if one driver's getting annoyed, the other one's got to be having a grand old time, but that is not the case. There was a run there from Walker into turn number 1, and Cairns goes defensive and was able to stave off the BMW for another lap. When Ramos as well, we saw him just run wide again on the exit of the final corner. He's been doing that quite a lot today. And even despite that, even if he gets it right, I don't think he's actually gaining all that much time up to Walker, unfortunately.
Yeah, certainly not, and well, it is quite unfortunate, because more than a third of our remaining grid has got time penalties, and it just reflects how hard this track is and how difficult it is to overtake here without, causing a moment for yourself and the other car.
Yep, and with how narrow things are, you could go for some contact that could end horribly. We saw it earlier with a few of these drivers, a couple of retirements as well off of those. So, yeah, of those remaining on circuit, those penalties don't make things any easier. So let's see what Ramos is doing. I don't know if I feel like he's either missing the apex or he's meeting the curb a little too early. He doesn't do it here, though, so it looks like he has found his line. Down the front straight again in the slipstream, but I think Walker also has a slipstream being delivered from Cairns Postal Service, and that does keep them pretty close. Ramos maybe a little bit later on the brakes, it looked like, almost into the back of the BMW, but still hangs on to 10th. But again, with Ramos, even if he gets around, it's not really going to matter, because he has a 10-second penalty hanging over his head right now.
Yeah, 10-second penalty, and well, even if he gets past, he has 10 minutes, so he would really just need to get past within the next 10 seconds and then make up 1 second per minute, which would be quite something, to say at least.
Yeah, I think if you put one of those Formula One cars here, you could possibly do it, or maybe the Porsche 919 Tribute. That would be another possible car. I think that could maybe pull a gap over these things. Or if you really want to do it, just get the old Chevy out there from the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That would be that'd be my pick. I think they should put that into ACC. I feel like that'd be interesting, or maybe iRacing when they do their 24 hours if they haven't already, or maybe they do another one. They put it in there. That'd be kind of
iRacing does not do 24 hour of Le Mans anymore.
It's R Factor?
It's a league that hosts it, basically, but yeah, iRacing no longer has rights to it.
Because it is R Factor though, right? Am I mistaken?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, R Factor, Studio 29 something.
Yeah. I remember the debacle, if you will, from earlier this year. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But anyways, things are settling down right here. Noah's really going for moves, just sort of waiting it out. Not trying to break anything, sort of like keyboard clamps if there were anything. Don't have any clamps, they don't break. What? I don't know. I don't know. It's just reading something about keyboards not having clamps to break, so keyboards are superior to wheels. Charles.
Oh yeah, clearly.
Clearly.
Well, clearly. Come on.
Or if you're more, it's a DDR pad. If anybody is able to race effectively with a DDR pad, I will personally give you $100. If you can win an OR race with a DDR pad, I will just go to your house. I will take away your DDR pad. I will just give you $100 for it, and then I will leave because that is insane. I know. We've talked about input devices, mostly steering wheels, some controllers. Although I think one of us here in the booth doesn't use a controller.
Yeah.
Wait, do you actually use a controller now, or are you still on KBM?
No. Who uses a controller? That's for suckers.
Well, I mean, if you're so good, you might as well handicap yourself a little bit to keep it interesting. But
Of course.
yeah,
I'm just that good.
yeah,
Well,
exactly. Now these guys are for the most part, I think, on wheels. So I mean, obviously they're on wheels. They're in a car, but input device should be a steering wheel and pedals. The ultimate way to go for a sim racer. Don't at me. But Pierre Moreno, his wheel is definitely working quite well because he has pulled out a pretty significant margin over Daniel Hearn. Even though he is just about 5.5 seconds back, he does have an extra 10. And then Danny Santo is far more than 10 seconds back. I think maybe 20 at this point. But that'll be an extra 10 seconds added on, even with his input device. And I see Tully saying Trackmania with a direct drive wheel. There is a pro player that plays with the steering wheel. I'm not kidding. His name is Granati. You can look it up. It's kind of scary. But anyways, we're not here to talk about the greatest racing game of all time. We're here to talk about one of the greatest sim racing games of all time. Don't at me. At the moment, you do see the 256 there of Dorn. He's going to be getting blue flagged. And Agudelo has gotten around Ippolito, surprisingly, in the meantime. And now he's setting his sights on Rolano, and I believe he should be able to take this position even without the, or even with the penalty, he'll take the position.
Maybe. And now, Agudelo, if he closes that gap even more, he maybe just might be on the podium here.
Well, 1.8 seconds to Rolano. That is more than 5. We'll have to see what Santo's at, though. If we go to Santo right now, yeah, he is a long ways ahead. We'll actually look at the track map here. You can see, so the 33, the dot, the red one. I don't think that's 10 seconds. That might be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. So yeah, maybe Agudelo is on for a podium position. That would be something.
Would definitely be something in ADB.
Santo. Yeah, that would be. Cairns still with Dos Ramos behind. It won't matter. Krebs has gotten away from both of these guys, so in the meantime, it looks like Krebs got the job done. 7th position for the amateur class driver. That's going to do pretty well for his run in the amateur championship. Could see him pip into the top 3. Right now, he isn't even in the top 3. He's just outside of it. But with his attendance being better than Son and Taylor's and Shop's, he could possibly find a way onto the top 3 steps, if not the top one, as Dos Ramos finally gets this move done. However, it is all for naught because there is a 10-second penalty for the number 69, and with just about 5 minutes to go here, I don't think he's going to overcome that, barring some sort of very unfortunate circumstance from Cairns. And of course, you see the BMW of Walker as well within that 10-second time frame. So there's got to be something that happens to both of them if he wants to even have a chance at holding on to P8.
Well, anything can happen.
Yes, it can, but I'm not going to be holding my breath if I'm being perfectly honest. I think most of these drivers are out of the woods, especially someone who's at the back. Of course, they don't have really much to worry about. But yeah, I know. Knock on wood. Here we go. Just got to make sure I cover my bases. No, I feel like for right now, 4 minutes to go. This should be sort of the final set of position changes, and then we'll deal with the penalties as they come through. Of course, at the moment, Pierre Moreno's looking nice and spiffy up there in P1. Daniel Hearn behind, just a little over 5 seconds. That gap has grown But thankfully for him, that 10-second penalty won't really do much because Santo is well and truly beyond that full 25.1 seconds right now from Hearn. And 10 seconds on Santo will make it look more like 35. And then there's Rolano with 5 seconds and Agudelo, who will grab Rolano here at the end. And the big question still remains, does he also grab Santo? And it looks like he could. I think they're close enough. So, yeah, Agudelo could be looking at a podium finish here.
Yeah, certainly with 2, maybe 3 laps left in this race. As long as he does not spin or have a moment, he should have a podium.
Well, Pierre Moreno just did a 36.83, and he is just about 50 some odd seconds from the start-finish line. So I believe we should have another lap after this, and then we go on to finals. So
yeah.
That's my
surely
guess.
after this one, but after that one, should we have another one is the question.
I don't know, but what we do have right now actually is a battle for position number 12. It's Christian Dorn with Rasmus Abelstedt. What a race the Swedes had. He's been sitting pretty much in the same position for a while now. I don't know if Dorn got around him or not, but he is on the attack. He wants to overtake this Porsche, wants to stay ahead of the M-Class driver. That does force him wide, and Abelstedt slips down the inside at the downhill. I think he just scared Dorn off his line a little bit and takes full advantage of that. So for Abelstedt, he will be looking at a position 12 finish, but he still has a couple more laps to go. When Moreno comes around again, it will be final. And if the pace is there, and it looks like it is, then yeah, Abelstedt should be getting the job done. And already, look at the gap he's pulled out immediately to Dorn.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is a completely different class, obviously, Am and Pro-Am, but still, I do not think Abelstedt can improve any further, as Agudelo has a massive moment there and is right behind Rolano.
How many times have we
He's
seen...
got a penalty.
How many times have we seen Agudelo or Ramos go over that little outside dirt? I wonder if it's been both of them or just one of them. They are driving the same car with the same livery, I believe. Yeah. Oh, there's just a slight difference. That little sort of tail fin is different color for Agudelo. So, both of them doing roughly the same thing. It's good to know that they're in sync.
Yeah, I mean, same team, so might be running the same setup, and that setup is certainly making them take the same line, which looks scary, but I'm sure for them it's just normal.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they've done it a few times. They should be more than capable of actually, holding it together. I mean, we've seen both of them do that. I think at worst we've seen a couple of left and rights, but nothing more, I'd say, nothing more deadly than that. Pierre Moreno, though, has crossed the start-finish line for the final lap here at Zandvoort. Started on pole, and it looks like that'll be it for him. Of course, he's just probably going to take it a little bit easy through these set of corners, just to be 100% that he is not going to spin out. Rolano with Agudelo and Ippolito behind. Agudelo is looking at a podium finish here in Zandvoort. That'd be massive into the final race of the season at the Nürburgring. And these guys getting the white flag as well. They know what's coming up. So I think for right now, there's not much you can really do. I feel like at this point, just get the car home. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything stupid. Don't make any last-second lunges.
Yes.
Just get it done. And Krebs has gotten around... Oh, that's not Karen. Sorry, that's Hearn. I was mistaken. I thought for a moment, I thought Cairns was making moves, but no, that's I think that's pretty much it for this race.
Yeah, pretty much, and well, Agudelo will pick up a podium in this race, because look at the gap between Rolano and Santo.
Oh my God, yeah, they're right on top of each other, almost. The three teammates, the three amigos, if you will, are definitely. Yeah. Look at that, that looks awesome. All three
teammates,
of these...
and you know what's funny? They might just do a coordinated finish on the line. because they all have penalties, so it's guaranteed to get a Gudelo a podium, and might just be cool to see.
Yep, Ippolito does slip around the Ferrari there of Santo. Not that it really matters, of course, penalties being thrown in. Moreno does, in the meantime, win the race here by a pretty comfortable margin. Daniel Hearn will be safe in position number 2 as Rolano just now gets on to the front stretch. Behind him is Danny Santo and Simone Ippolito. It is Agudelo, though, that does, I think, come out of this with the podium. And then Fabian Krebs, what a drive from him. Out of the final corner, has bested Cairns for position 6. And Cairns out of the final corner. Ryan Walker has done everything he's needed to do. And Ramos as well. Koo, Abelstead, Dorn, and Cuthbert. Cuthbert swinging side to side, flashing the headlights. He knows he's done. And in the background, there's just Ramos. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here at Zandvoort. And we're going to take a look, and we're going to give you the current finalization, but could possibly be more later once the race stewards and everybody get their notes compared and looked at. So overall, of course, it is Pierre Moreno on top. Daniel Hearn, even with a 10-second penalty, does manage to finish 15 seconds ahead of Agudelo, who does vault around Rolano and Santo and Ippolito for a podium finish. For a debutant, that is a very good start to it. And of course, Rolano Santo round out that top 5. We'll see what the standings look like once they are given to us in full for next week. We'll see just how far ahead Moreno is going into the final race of the season. Of course, only a couple of Pro-Am showed up. It's Cairns and Abelstead, 1 and 2 for them. For the amateurs, though, it is going to be Krebs ahead of Dorn and Williams, of course, with that unfortunate DNF earlier on in the race. And of course, Koo by himself in his own class because, well, it's Koo, it's a new driver. But Charles, that is it for the race here tonight. Final thoughts?
I don't know. Good race, I guess. Went as expected on Zandvoort, and well, it's gonna be exciting into Nürburgring. That is for sure.
Yeah, very exciting opening couple of laps, and then it really just settled right down. We had a couple of battles during the race, but nothing too crazy. Maybe these drivers are getting themselves ready for what is to come at the Nürburgring. Before we go, of course, one final shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring another season here of the Sprint Series here. They've been with us for a couple seasons now. Very glad to have them on board out of Melbourne, Australia. They got everything you need if you're looking to fully upgrade the rig, or if you're looking to maybe add a couple of goodies to your setup. All of Australia and New Zealand, you guys are going to be covered as always. And then there's people like Charles and myself, and maybe some of you at home who don't have the luxury of living down there. Well, if you send them an email, they'd be more than happy to do some business with you. And all of you who are subscribed to the Patreon, you guys do get a 5% off discount code when you buy through them. So thank you again to Simrigs for sponsoring this season of the Sprint Series. We hope to see them again next time around. But yeah, we've pretty much said all we've needed to say here in the booth. We are off to the Nürburgring for the final round of the season. Currently sitting at a 70-minute two-stopper, but maybe it gets changed. Maybe it's a 70-minute one-stop. Maybe it's a 70-minute no-stop. We'll have to wait and see if that change actually does come through. I highly doubt it, though. But, of course, until next time. As always, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, stay beautiful. The season comes down to one final race in 1 week, and we hope to see you there.